Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Hugh. I'm going to be hosting the session today. I'm going to be handing over to my colleague, Sam. You're not going to hear too much from me. I'm just going to do very much the formal introductions today. But thanks so much for attending this morning. As ever, these sessions are recorded. So if you do have to leave, it is going to be available on our video hub. So you can always catch up there. And if you do find anything in particular that you enjoy about today and want to share it with your internal teams, that's another resource for it as well. So nice to meet you all. Nice to see some of familiar faces as well. I'm Hugh. I'm the head of sales here at Fulius. And I'm joined by Meg, who is our marketing manager, and Sam, who is our lead technical strategist. This is the agenda for today. So just a few welcomes and intros. We're obviously going to be talking about some news. I think somebody already referred to it in the chat pane that we have actually changed our brand name. So we're going to talk you through that. I am then going to give you a very, very brief overview of the importance of data health before handing over to Sam, who is going to try and give you 15 data health hacks in 30 minutes. So he's got 2 minutes per hack. I don't think he can do it in that time frame, but we'll soon see. And then finally, we'll close out with any questions that you might have and anything that we're looking forward to in the next few weeks as well for our next HubSpot user group. But as ever, if you do have questions throughout today's session, drop them in the chat pane. Meg is going to be able to filter all of those questions as well, and she'll be providing some really useful resources for you to take away from today. So we've done the intros. I'm Hugh. I'm the head of sales. So I've been working here for 2.5. My core objective is to work with businesses who are either on HubSpot already or are looking to take out that HubSpot platform. We understand what the architecture is that you're looking to build there. We do that for you, as well as building campaigns for businesses all around the UK, EMEA, and North America as well. And I'm joined by Sam. Sam, do you want to just give a very quick overview as to yourself and your role here?
Yep, thanks, Hugh. So I'm Sam. I sit on the HubSpot team at Fulius. I basically head up all the HubSpot and inbound functions in terms of basically onboarding, using all the hubs, and I'll be running the webinar today in terms of basically all these data hacks that you can take away and hopefully roll out in your own portals in the 15 minutes after the 30 minutes I go through them.
Thanks, Sam. First things first, before we get started, you've probably seen our branding has completely changed. So just to give you a very brief overview as to what we've done is Prodo was what we were formerly called. That was established in 1998. We've always had two sides of our business. We've, first of all, been driven to build digital solutions that solve challenges, but that could either be for commercial revenue growth or digital transformation in the housing sector. And what we wanted to make sure is that we keep delivering bigger and better things for our clients with a laser focus on their unique challenges. So there was always a confusion in terms of when you came to Prodo, are we a social housing business or are we a revenue growth business? So we've decided over a period of time that the natural next step for us is to split our business into two. One that's purely focused on digital transformation for the social housing providers, and the other driving growth for scaling companies in the commercial and private sectors. So that's why we'd like to introduce you to our new brand, Fulius. We're here to help ambitious businesses grow with marketing automation, revenue operations, and HubSpot and Umbraco development as well. Prodo will still exist. Prodo will remain at the heart of social housing, and they will be delivering dedicated digital platforms for housing associations that enable stronger resident relationships. Good news is there's no change to our team whatsoever. We always had that split in terms of what teams would work on social housing versus which ones would work on commercial revenue growth. So it's just more formalizing that split so that we can have that laser focus from both a marketing perspective and also from an internal perspective to support our clients. So really exciting time for us. And Meg has done so much hard work. So any feedback that you have on the new brand, we'd love to hear it. And the great thing with this is in July, we also became an elite HubSpot solutions partner, which now puts us in the top 1% of their 6,500 strong global agency roster. It's the highest tier that's available. It's only awarded to the best partners with a proven track record of helping companies grow by utilizing the HubSpot platform. So for any clients or prospects, that means we're working more closer than ever with the team at HubSpot to make sure that you're getting the most ROI out of your implementation. Plus, we now also get exclusive access to exclusive content, product updates, and knowledge that we can share to help you get more from the tools and features day to day. But if you do have any questions on Fulius, please do just get in touch with us. If you want to have a chat around why we decided to do it, or if you're thinking about doing something like that, we've gone through that as a business now, so we can support on those conversations. If you have missed, or if your first time coming to one of our HubSpot User Group events, we have run the Liverpool HubSpot User Group event now for, I want to say 3 years, Meg?
It's coming up to 5 years now.
Oh, right, there you go.
Virtual for
long
3
before
years.
my time. Long before my time. And we used to do them in person, mainly at the Liver building in Liverpool. But obviously, since the pandemic, we transitioned them to being a webinar-based format. It's great because it means you don't have to be in the local area to actually join. And also now that we can post them online as well, so that you can take those learnings that we share with you and share those internally or utilize them for yourselves if you're considering some of those as part of like an implementation. So we've got a number of hubs that you're able to watch in your own time. And finally, before I start, you do have a chance to win a £20 Amazon gift card. What we would like you to answer is this next question at the end of the session in the chat panel. And what we'll do is we'll select the best answer and announce the winner via email. And that question is, what is your number one life hack? So have a think about that throughout the session. I'll be referring back to it once Sam's gone through all of his stuff, but have a think about that. And then we can get all of those answers at the end and decide on a winner from there. But on to today, a very, very quick overview of data health from myself before I hand over to Sam. So why is data health so important for businesses? Well, data health is a huge topic that impacts businesses across all different industries. Any business that handles data needs to be aware of the implications. Data privacy in particular as well also has a significant issue around the world, and there are huge consumer concerns around how their data is being utilized. Governments worldwide are setting standards and expectations for how businesses handle personal data from customers and prospects. And this ranges from a multinational level with guidelines like the GDPR in the European Union, which I'm sure most of you will know today, to much smaller scales like the statewide California Consumer Privacy Act in the US. But still, there are serious consumer concerns about data privacy. And in HubSpot's latest consumer trends report, 70% said they are concerned with how companies use their data, and just over half of respondents distrust how companies use their data. But it's not just about consumer privacy. Your data health has a significant impact on your operational efficiencies, strategy, and overall revenue. Another HubSpot survey found that 50% of business leads are not a good fit for what you sell, which in turn can clog your CRM with irrelevant data and wasting marketing or sales reps' time having to manually process and filter out those bad leads. Now, clean, consistent, and accurate data is essential to fully utilize and implement your CRM. In an ideal world, your CRM should provide you with the means to make data-driven decisions that push forward your overall strategy. Also, with the way that HubSpot charge for marketing contacts, it is critical that your business keeps on top of your own marketing contacts versus non-marketing contacts to ensure you're not overpaying for your subscription for bad fit contacts. And I'd just like to ask at this point, in terms of, and please feel free to enter into the chat pane, how many of you are utilizing the marketing contacts feature inside of HubSpot today? And how are you determining what is a good fit versus a bad fit, or a marketing contact versus a non-marketing contact? What I've done a lot of the time is we go into customers and prospects portals, we assess their data in terms of like how many are a good fit, but also how many people are not engaging with your marketing content. And there's specific rules that you can then enroll people to becoming non-marketing content if they are not engaging with your marketing activity anymore. So it'd be always a really good advice, which I'm sure Sam will come on to in his hacks as well. But the advantages of data health, well, organizational objectives around data health are to increase revenue, reduce costs, and mitigate risks. The three key advantages to cleaning up your CRM and data management practices are: one, accurate reporting. Obviously, data is the foundation of accurate reporting, which allows businesses to understand what works and what doesn't work to improve your ROI. Number 2, funnel optimization. So once you have that accurate reporting, you can start to build out a full end-to-end view of your customer journey. And that will then help you to optimize both your sales and your marketing content to align more better with your prospects, sending the right message to the right person at the right time. So we're bringing it all the way back to inbound fundamentals. And thirdly, operational efficiencies. So there'll be less time that's actually spent filtering and managing bad data, which means more time that you can be put into your actual job, whether that's sales, whether that's marketing, or whether that's service as well. And just before I finally do hand over to Sam, as I said, we've been into people's portals, we've assessed their data, we've looked at all of those different approaches. If you would like us to have a look at your sort of portal and the data health, we are available to do that. You can request one. It is no obligation. There's no fee attached to it. It will purely give you an insight into how your portal is running at the moment and any wins that we can get out of it, or even a roadmap for your business. But like I said, I wanted to keep everything very brief. I am 2 minutes ahead of time, which gives Sam an extra 2 minutes, which he lost at the start. So Sam, I'll hand over to you and I will stop sharing so I can reshare. I'm sure that's going to be the easiest way.
Yeah, probably. Thanks, you.
No
So
problem.
if I just share my screen, hopefully it won't take too long, because I appreciate I'm also on the clock. So, okay, can we see the slide deck?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So again, data, it's really important, but often you can get kind of swamped in data where you don't really know where to start. So hopefully I'm going to use 15 different reasons and 15 different opportunities to have somewhere to start when it comes to your own data as well. So hack number 1, let's talk data cleansing. So let's talk about, we've got all these records in our portal. How do we start identifying the opportunities to optimize? So where do we start? And what a data cleanse dashboard can actually do is you can actually build this data cleanse dashboard both using HubSpot's data quality feature, which is recently released as part of the Ops Hub, I believe, or we can actually build a dashboard using the standard HubSpot reporting stuff and applying filters where field values are unknown. So some examples of this in terms of being able to spot where we need to start is for outdated records. Maybe unsubscribes are also potential gaps in your database, meaning that let's say that you have a qualification matrix where you need certain information to push people along. However, you're finding people are inputting data correctly. We can create a dashboard to flag those up on a dashboard that we can then schedule weekly to whoever the admin or champions data in your organization. So my top tips in terms of what I would do is really keep invisible the total number of unsubscribes. So going into the contacts object, looking for email subscription settings and setting this to a chart. So you can see this both as a whole number, but also over time, how many people are unsubscribing. Otherwise, what you'll find is you probably don't have visibility without going into your email section on a regular cadence. My second tip is going through the total number of bounces. So being able to see, okay, how many contacts are bouncing from our emails, which flags up a whole number of contacts for our sales team to reach out personally to see if that email is still in use. Again, it means that you're not using your marketing contacts quota and you're not actually eating into your resource in terms of what you've got there in HubSpot in order to basically, pay for contacts that are no longer valid. The third one, really, really important, is where flagging up as a metric, as a summary of how many contacts do not have a contact owner assigned to them. Contact owners are critical in assigning accountability, but also understanding who's working the lead, as well as from a marketing point of view, we can make our marketing collateral dynamic based on the owner. So the marketing email could come from the owner because we would just use the token. So I cannot stress enough how critical it is to not only flag up no contact owners, but flagging up contacts where and understanding who owns what contact at what stage in the funnel as well. A few others, so basically lifecycle stage. So of all the opportunities, MQLs, SQLs, how many of those don't have a subscription type? What's the argument to have all these opportunities where they've not opted into your emails? Does this point out your forms aren't collecting opt-ins correctly? Or are you not making opt-ins at certain points in the journey as a requirement? Again, some standard ones in terms of looking at contacts that were created this year compared to last year. Integrations are more fluent than ever. There's more integrations out there that you can use. So keeping on track of how much data is actually being pushed into our portal this time this year compared to this time last year, which follows on to the next question, which is how good is that data that's coming in? So being able to tell that story of how data is coming into your HubSpot portal. And then a last few. So looking at where contacts are geographically coming in, HubSpot gives you the IP of every contact that converts via your HubSpot tracking code. So you can categorize them by a country and then actually flag up, are people coming into your database from areas that you are actively targeting? It's all well and good if you're selling into Europe, but you're getting a lot of contacts from Latin America. They're good contacts, but it may not be something that you can actually service as a company or organization. And then the last two are pretty fundamental. Contacts where we don't know a job title. So if you are B2B, this is a big one to flag up because it is a single line text and it can get missed. And also, if it's not being flagged, you're not going to know who the decision maker is at your opportunity. So being able to have that org structure, the first step in doing that is having the job titles mapped out. And the last but not least, without a first name. So people that just give us an email address, let's really hone down on getting the first name so we can do some contextual marketing. So that's number one. Number two is buyer persona tagging. So HubSpot's really great at actually buyer personas. You can bake into HubSpot your persona profiles. And if you haven't already done this, I cannot recommend it enough. So if you do certain assets or formats of content that you know is for the marketing manager, is for the sales manager, is for the sales director, or whoever the decision maker is in your prospects, make sure that you map your job titles in a workflow to then assign the persona on the back of it. It means that you don't have to contextually sift through new leads and go, oh, they're a marketing manager, Molly, they are a sales manager, Steve. This will allow you to really tailor and also build reports where you can actually see, show me the nature of these organizations, but then how many, what is the makeup of that? Are they C-suite? Are they mid-level? Or are they just exec level? So being able to have job title and personas really allows us to, one, report on, but also build automation and different tracks depending on what the persona's pain points are. So using workflows to assign it from job title is a great efficiency point without actually taking too much time out of your day. Alternatively, you don't have to do this in workflow. You can use hidden fields on forms to assign the persona that way as well. Hack number 3. So we're talking about actually HubSpot properties. So how do we use custom fields? So you may have noticed that when you are adding drop-downs into HubSpot, a common one that you may see is country or region that HubSpot provides out of the box. And one thing I would ask you to do is just check in your portal if this is still set to a single line text. HubSpot will roll it out as single line text by default. But what this will lead on is if you want to build reports in terms of different geographies, you're relying on the sales manager or whoever's doing the sales function to input the country in the same format as everybody else. Which means that if someone puts in UK and then United Kingdom into country or region, they're treated as two completely different countries. But contextually, we know that as one. So what we can actually do is switch that format to a drop-down select, as you can see on the right-hand side. And what we can actually do is along the bottom, rather than adding every country in the world, which will take quite a bit of time, you do have an option called load options. And HubSpot has actually built in formats of drop-downs that is often goes unnoticed. So this could be a list of all the universal states in the United States, a list of all the countries in the world, a list of all the time zones, the days of the week, the months of the year, years. So these common kind of drop-down values that you would otherwise spend 20 to an hour filling in one by one, you can actually just preload them in through the load options area on your actual properties as well. This will allow you not only to execute the field correctly, but it will allow you to have easier for data input, less room for error. It categorizes entries better, so that all UK, United Kingdom, England, Wales, Scotland, that all becomes one. And that is categorized into one bucket, and you don't have to then go through cleaning up entries. But it also dedupes the work. So long term, you won't have lots of different single line text that you need to flag up in a data cleansing dashboard, going back to hack number 1, and then having to actually retrospectively update that one by one. So again, I can't stress enough, if you have an enumeration or a drop-down, do look at the load options at the big bottom of the actual pane as well. there are so many quick wins of preset formats of dropdowns that you can actually just roll out as values in seconds. Okay, hack number 4. So this is quite a good one. This is probably my favorite one that HubSpot have actually done over the last few days. So super admins can now actually enroll their portal into betas or betas. So what you can actually do now is that in your portal, if you are a super admin, you will have your portal name in the top right-hand corner. You will also have an area called product updates. What you will actually see is when you go into the product update in your top right of your portal, you will have this screen on the right-hand side. And you will notice you have an early access and betas. And you can actually roll out betas that are not universally wide that you may be interested in, want to go on to like the pre-rollout program. And some of the recommendations, some of the really, really innovative betas that I've seen have been rolled out is aspects around managing and visualizing your data model. So if you're an enterprise and you're using custom objects, historically, what you had to do is write down and map out on paper what your actual ERD, so your entity relationship diagram, looks like in your portal. Now what you can do is if I roll out this beta, all within HubSpot, I can see how contacts are linked to deals and how deals are linked to contacts and contacts are linked to tickets and how my custom objects are related. So when you built the custom object, did you enable it to be associated with all the different objects or just particular ones? So it allows you to actually map out your data architecture in HubSpot. It's a really cool beta that I would ask anyone to go and roll that out if you have custom objects, because it helps new starters. It helps people to understand your relationship and your environment of your HubSpot platform. Another good one is actually using automation recommendations for formatting issues. So HubSpot is trying to make essentially this hook a lot more easier and accessible in the platform itself. So HubSpot will actually give you tips on AI-powered automation to quickly and apply basic formatting that isn't in every portal out of the box. So enabling that will allow HubSpot to actually format your data through machine learning, which actually will allow you to keep on top of your data as well. And then lastly, you do have a data quality command center, which allows you to essentially have that data cleansing dashboard without the legwork of setting up a dashboard. You can actually monitor and clean any potential property issues, record issues, or looking at any data sync health. So if there's any close values that may look contextually like they're the same, HubSpot will flag that up in a quarantine and you can just press merge. And it will allow you to merge your records in seconds as opposed to actually finding and sifting out the needles in the haystack. So again, just to go over, there is a link, these slides will be shared, but do have a look at basically your account. Just make sure that you replace this number with your own portal ID as well. Okay, hack number 5, we're talking about formatting data with workflows. So if you are on the Ops Hub, you can actually use something called formatting of data. So if you are an Ops Hub Pro or Enterprise customer, you can actually use formatting data in workflows. So you could say, if the phone number is known, enroll the contact, and then we want to format the numerical format of it. Or you could change the format of it. So if you're getting phone numbers in like 077 or +447, or you're getting 447, you can actually universally combine them all by a change format action in your workflows. Alternatively, if you're getting people putting their name in terms of first name and last name without a capital, you can actually put that into your workflow. So if first name is known, capitalize the first name entry. You can also choose on if someone puts in all caps lock, you can put that into sentence case. So you can actually control that. And why that's important is if you're using tokens in your marketing, the last thing you want to do is reflect back to them the token they provided, and it looks like you're shouting at them. So using operations hub to format your data is a really quick win, albeit there is a commercial cost, but it can actually save so much time and keep your data health in check as well. And in terms of numerical, what you can actually do is actually divide and multiply round numbers and calculate nth roots of a number. Now, I know I'm going to get a question about how do I calculate an nth root of a number. I'm going to say I wasn't great at maths, so I will pass some documentation after the hug today that can be shared on more detail on that as well. Moving on to hack number 6. So we're talking about custom code. So again, we're talking about the Ops Hub. So if you are on Pro or Enterprise again, you can actually use custom code. And basically what this does is it unlocks workflows outside of just the standard actions you'll see on the sidebar. So like sending emails, internal email alerts, setting property values. custom code comes with this, but it actually allows you to build your own rules. So for example, if you wanted to remove special characters from phone numbers, we can input this line of code into our workflow. Even though it may not have been a standard format data option in the previous hack, we can build our own through using JavaScript and Node. So we can say cut, and then it's cutting the phone number and removing anything with a hyphen, anything with an asterisk, or anything with a hashtag. You can also look at calculating your sales rep commission. So what is their amount times by the commission rate? And you can also string together values. So you can use concatenate functions similar to Excel. So we want to actually string them together. So we take the company name property and we can take the month and the year and stitch them into a new field together as a value. So custom code, essentially, you may have the car, whereas custom code gives you the keys to the car. It lets you unlock it. It lets you do whatever you want with that car. So again, if you've got JavaScript experience or expertise in-house, alternatively, HubSpot is building out a JavaScript library of preset hacks like this. On to hack number 7, we're talking about customer health. So how do we know if a customer is decaying? Usually when we look at our database, we'll say, oh, they're a customer, that's great. But at what point does a customer begin to decay? How can we spot ahead of time that they are looking to churn? How do we adopt stickiness in our portal and bring better visibility of accounts that may lapse? So what we can actually do is use existing customer data and behavior to flag this up in a dashboard. What we can also do is look at items such as product usage, customer feedback, market engagement, website activity, customer support cases, product upgrades, and community participation. So what we could actually do is, using what we would normally know as a lead score or a HubSpot score, we can set up a score property in our account called customer health and actually base it around all the system information we get through a tracking code. So product usage might be an integrated product that you may sell. So if you're a SaaS company, you may integrate your SaaS platform with your CRM. So you can see fields such as last login, number of logins. And then what we can do is, once that's in HubSpot, we can say if their last login was less than 7 days ago, give them 5 points. If it was greater than 90 days ago, take away 5 points. Meaning we're real-time scoring a customer's adoption across the portal as well. So we're not using score in the sense of lead score. We're looking at how good are new leads. We're actually looking at how great are our current customers and who is actually looking like they're going to lapse in the next coming future. And what you can do is customer feedback. So if you use an NPS, we can use NPS fields, market engagements, that's marketing emails, website activities, anything through a tracking code, customer support cases, that could be through either an integrated platform or tickets, product upgrades and renewals. So if we know there's a renewal deal that's stayed in a stage for too long on the deal side, we can use that. And also community participation as well. So what this brings together is we use lead score in conjunction with our tracking code fields to build a customer health metric, which we can then bring front and center onto our data health dashboard and also roll out for our account management teams as well. Onto hack number 8. So we're talking about email validation. HubSpot is very easy to send an email, more easier than probably most platforms out there. But we mentioned marketing contacts, and we mentioned that just because it's easy doesn't mean you should do it quickly. So HubSpot prides itself on integrations. So HubSpot's not there to replace every software out there as much as it can do. It doesn't want to do that. It wants to have the best-in-class software stack. So what you can actually do is look at systems such as Dbounce or other systems such as Email Validate. And what these systems will do is integrate with your HubSpot instance and audit your contacts and send a test email from Dbounce, so not your HubSpot environment, and test if it came back with a spam trap or it was disposable or a bounce, which will then push back into HubSpot on their contact record in a field such as inactive, bounce, disposable, and categorize all your contacts into email validation metrics, which means that you can actually create active lists based on anything Dbounce found to be disposable. And what you'll find is the cost per send of Dbounce is much lower to check the spam traps of your actual contacts in your database, rather than trying to do that through HubSpot. The reason for doing that is that when you do come to doing your marketing through HubSpot, you're sending to actually the right contacts who are engaged and are actively using their emails and claims. So again, look at Dbounce, look at integrating these systems, and get rid of the bad emails in bulk. Like, you don't need to hold data for the end of time. Hold data that's going to drive results. And those results can look at such as, we know that 30% of email addresses go bad in just a year. Most businesses, in terms of like turnover, can fall into that. Also, what we know is that, less than 44%, if over 10% of emails are bad, less than 44% of your emails will be delivered. So again, that's a huge metric. And for the cost of looking at integrations just to, on a regular cadence, check this, is a massive quick win. We're on to hack number 9. So on the topic of email health, HubSpot have recently rolled out in the marketing tools a tab called Health. And this is where HubSpot starts to stand out from other email clients or email providers. So what you can actually see is, over time, how is our send going? What is our open rate? What is our click-through rate? What's our hard bounce rate? But what we can also do is go down by industry. So when we were talking right at the start about data cleansing and having job titles and making sure all people are formatting their job titles, making sure we collect their industry at the company level means we can look at, by vertical, are we doing better or worse? So if we are a SaaS company and we target maybe IT, marketing, sales firms, we've got different verticals assigned. What we may find is that we do better in a certain industry and our contacts are much healthier there than what they are in a different industry as well, which starts to flag up questions such as, how are we obtaining these contacts in these industries? Are we in the right watering holes to find this data? So HubSpot will actually bring this front to center and tell you how you can improve that. And using validation tools such as debounce will only help that in terms of getting that progress bar from 0 all the way to 100. A healthy email is the best email. On to hack number 10, contact lists. I feel like I've contradicted myself here because I've been talking about lists and talking about active lists. What we can actually do is actually clean up our lists. It's so common to see many portals creating lots of lists, and that's fine. But what you may find is, over time, as you have new starters, as you have different ways of approaching things, you end up duplicating the list for the same purpose. So making sure you actually use lists to really hone down on your actual email performance. So being able to create lists on GDPR subscriptions, creating lists on unengaged. So if they've not touched an email for greater than or equal to 10 of the previous emails. The more lists that you have, make sure they're in use. Make sure that they've been used in the last 90 days. And also make sure that lists you do have, you're actually attaching to your email as send or exclusion lists. Because you may have noticed when you send an email, you can see the stats for the email, but you do have the ability to actually filter down by the specific list. So not just the entire recipients list, but the individual sub-lists that you attach to make up the recipients. So you can see how different lists perform when it comes to email. And remember that a marketing email with an open rate lower than 15% tells email providers that your sender is sending spam. So if you're having open rates lower than 15%, really go back to the drawing board in terms of what is our sending strategy, how big is the sending pool, and ultimately, what are we trying to get out of here in terms of the back of doing this email campaign as well. On to hack number 11, managing marketing contacts. Really important. So if you are on the Marketing Hub subscription, you will most likely be familiar with the term marketing contacts. If you're not, what marketing contacts typically means is, traditionally, HubSpot would charge you for every contact you put into HubSpot. They moved away from that way of working about a year or 2 years ago. I think it was around that mark. And they introduced marketing contacts, which means that you could put in as many non-marketing contacts into your database as you want and not pay for them. Whereas a marketing contact is any contact in your database that you label as marketing contact that you want to basically be billed for. And by that, what I mean is a marketing contact will go against your quota. In terms of, if you have 7,000 marketing contacts, mark Samuel Banks as a marketing contact, that will be 1 against the 7,000, irregardless of how many are non-marketing contacts. What this allows you to do is a marketing contact will be able to receive marketing mailers, external communication, and mass emailing as well. Now, the wizard allows you to actually identify in that same wizard itself anyone that's labeled as a marketing contact that has been picking up as bounced or unsubscribed. If someone unsubscribes or bounces regularly from your email cadence, there's no reason for them to still be a marketing contact because they're not receiving your marketing in the first place. Don't pay for more through not having the time to review this. Because if you can spare an hour just to review your marketing contacts and look at who's a marketing contact where a bounce is known and remove them, that could save you a hefty chunk at your actual renewal with HubSpot. So really do review that and make sure your marketing contacts or have a process in place to actually looking at on a quarterly, a biannual, or even an annual basis at the very least. In terms of where to find it, if that's in your account and billing section under usage and limits, and you will have manage marketing contacts as well, where HubSpot will give you tailored feedback on how you're using your own portal as well. Hack number 12, we're getting there, stay with me. So using workflows to copy property values. So HubSpot has lots of objects. So HubSpot has contacts, companies, deals, and if you're an enterprise user, you've probably got custom objects as well. But what you can actually do is sometimes you will need a field to sit on two objects. So you may have a company name that you want to sit on a deal, as well as a company name you need to sit on the company object, because your quoting system may only be able to use deal fields. So what you can actually use is a workflow to copy the value for every record into a different object that's associated. So for example, if we had deal A that's linked to company A, and we had company A's name on the company record, but it wasn't on the deal, and our quoting needed to reference the company name, which is the deal field, and it's empty, we can use a workflow to copy either the contact or the company value to any associated records on the deal side, which means that we don't have to ask our sales team, in that example, can you fill in the company name again when you raise a deal? No, we can use a workflow in the background to actually copy that from the company object and keep all your sales team in a happy place. So you can do this across contacts, companies, deals, tickets, and quotes. So be sure to actually utilize this. Also, if you've got a field that you want to be bi-directional, you can create two workflows, but they're just the other way around. So one is put from contact to company, one is company to contact, which means that whenever there's an update on whatever object, everything's moving in a circular motion. Everyone's on the same page from a marketing to a sales to an operational level as well. So do review those actions. They do go underused, and there's a lot of efficiency gains you can get from that. On to hack number 13. So we're going to talk about re-engagement campaigns. So re-engagement is really important. So we've talked a lot about bounces. We've talked a lot about unengaged, but you don't always want to just delete. So someone could bounce just because their inbox is full. Someone could bounce because they've temporarily deactivated their email. They could always come back. So what's important is to give people a chance once they become unengaged as like a last chance. You'll have this when you're on e-commerce or anything like that. It's a common thing in that space. So when a contact becomes engaged, you don't immediately have to delete them. What we could do is create a workflow to say, when someone is unengaged, we then want to send a last chance re-engagement email to say, are you still there? And what this will do is actually give you that reassurance that we've tried everything we possibly could, not just flagging them as engaged in our database and deleting them. We actually even communicated them and actually had a goal. So what we can do is saying that the email was sent to them. If they open that email and they met the goal criteria, pull them out of that workflow and they'll no longer be unengaged. So in this example, you can see in this environment, we've had unengaged contacts. And without doing this, we would have lost 3,136 contacts that actually only temporarily were unengaged. To generate that contacts on the flip side would take a long time for a sales team or a BD function. So again, make sure you've got these in place before you start doing mass deletes, because again, these can save you so much time, and sometimes it's just the wrong time and the wrong place. And having a re-engagement campaign gives you that peace of mind in the background. You're automating that action as well. Hack number 14, sync health. Integrations, they're easier than ever. So if you are in the CRM space, you'll probably be familiar with a few. It's like Dynamics, Salesforce, to name a couple. Now, HubSpot is making integrations easier, probably quicker than they ever have been, which means that you can manage the health of your integration or data syncs between systems in HubSpot. So you can see what field is going to what field between the two systems. You can also see what direction, and you can also see more granular perspectives as well. So with an integration, what you'll find is you typically pay for how much data you push between the systems. So how many API calls is being made is the technical term. So being able to have visibility of that will tell you that if you're doing huge campaigns on the sales side in Dynamics in this example, and pushing this into HubSpot to do your marketing, if we're going to go over our API limit, it's going to pause and freeze our sync. It means we're going to lose contact where it's not a real-time sync. You'll have to wait till the next working day for the API calls to refresh. So staying on top of this allows you to understand not just for native integrations, but also if you have a third party from the marketplace or even a custom integration, if you built it in this way, you can see, do we need to increase the bandwidth on whatever the provider of the integration's done? This will stop you from hitting a brick wall if you hit your API call limit and having to lose out on contacts that same day. So staying on top of this and making sure everything's firing as expected and you've got enough leeway in terms of what you're pushing across is super important. It's easy to set and forget with integrations because it's so easy, but do go back and review that and also get feedback on the data that's going into HubSpot from these systems. So speak to the function, speak to the marketing team on the Dynamics data, speak to the sales team on the HubSpot data coming to Dynamics. Getting that feedback and making sure everyone's got what they need to do their job is so important in terms of being able to do that as well. And also, if you have the Operations Hub Pro and being able to check your sync health, do check the custom properties, do map custom fields. Systems are very good at giving you what you need at a very fundamental level, but do customize your sync, make it unique to your own portal, get the information from the system itself as opposed to asking for dual entry once it gets into HubSpot. And lastly, probably my favorite one is custom objects. So HubSpot historically always did custom objects in a way that was not really accessible. People had to learn how to use the custom objects API to create a new environment in their portal. Albeit, it can be done. I'm a marketer, I've done them myself. It takes a bit of learning, a few learning curves, but it could be done. But what HubSpot have moved to now is you can actually create a custom object just like you would as a contact. So you can see on this right-hand side, we can now create a custom object by just having the name, the plural name, what you want the primary display property, the property type, and the secondary display. We just press create, and it's there. It's done. It's in our portal. We don't have to use API calls. We don't have to write in JavaScript. We don't have to do any kind of rehash API calls or delete calls. It's there. It's in your portal, and it can be done in minutes. But I will mention, just because it's so easy doesn't mean it's always the right solution. Do evaluate, can any of the existing objects be repurposed to host this data you're trying to create an object for? However, if you have an object where you want to have a directory of records where it doesn't fit, it's not a contact, it's not a company, it's not a deal, and it is, let's say you are a veterinary surgeon and you wanted to have a list of all the different animals that you could treat, where you could link them to contacts and deals, that would be a custom object. So having a pet object, for example. So being able to use this makes data architecture, getting data into HubSpot and getting data into the right place easier than it's ever have been. And that, I believe, should conclude my part. So I'm going to hand back over to Hugh and probably take a drink of water because I feel like I spoke for hopefully 15 minutes.
You spoke for 33 minutes. It's 3 minutes over. So failed in your task today. No, thanks. Thanks, Sam, for talking us through all of those hacks. We've had some great questions that have come through already, which is good. So we'll let you have a little drink of water and then you can answer those. But just before we go on to the questions, which Meg can field to you, Sam, we obviously said at the start that there is a £20 Amazon gift card up for grabs. So please let us know in the chat pane what your number one life hack is. Doesn't have to be HubSpot related. We encourage it not to be HubSpot related because we all like some tips on what we can do in our own lives. But yeah, put those into the chat pane and we will move on to the questions. So Meg, we had some really good questions that come through. So do you want to field those out to Sam and we can work through them one by one? And obviously any other questions, please just put them into the chat pane as well.
Yes, we've had quite a few good questions. One really early on from Terry around personas and kind of ideal custom fit for B2B. And how would you determine a good fit if your customers vary from FST 100 companies and then right through to sole traders all different industries and no real correlation between company size and spend. Have we got any tips or ideas on how you would manage that?
So the question here is, what I would do if I was tackling this myself is I'd probably have a look over all our deal data where we've done over the last 12 months to establish if there is any correlations that could be identified, and just make sure we're not just saying that typically we think company size and spend doesn't occur. What we can also do is in HubSpot, you can have what we call as association labels, or like the type of contact and the role they have at the company. So who the decision maker was, who the budget holder was. So these are different ways where it's not necessarily a job title, it's not necessarily a number of employees, but the seniority of the actual involvement in previous deals. So you could actually use your good fits, or if your sales team can find a budget holder in certain verticals as well. So it's kind of two answers to that. One, have a look over the last 12 months and see if there's any correlations that can be spotted. And two, make use of the ABM features. So being able to spot like the budget holder, the decision maker, the blocker, the gate holder, all these common things that sales ops and teams use.
Makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Sam. We had a question from Adam. How would you recommend flagging past customers, for example, if they don't renew? So the company lifecycle stage shouldn't be customer anymore, but then they shouldn't go back to being a lead. And then he kind of has a query around whether or not you can edit company lifecycle stages just now.
Yeah, good question. So HubSpot did release this as a beta to being able to customize lifecycle stages. I believe it can be done on a contact and company. They kind of released it, pulled it back again because they had a few errors, and I think they've slowly re-released it again. So in short, I think you can customize them. So the way that I've seen some portals do it is, one, they just customize the lifecycle stages now. So they have customer is no longer customer, it's current customer and former customer. So you could do it that way very simply. Or alternatively, you could use something like lead status. So you could have former and then current customer, or like a bad fit. So like a bad relationship that went sour.
Yeah, so that's how we use it internally. So we have our lifecycle stages, and then we have a secondary category which we utilize lead status for. And across all different sections of the lifecycle stage, we have secondary filters. So when it is in the customer section of the lifecycle stage, we have a current customer section, a former customer section, etc. So that's another way that you can get around that.
Another question we had from Ollie, it was to do with when we're building a customer health score, so hack number 7. Is that dependent on the CMS being built in HubSpot to be able to build out that customer health score?
Nope. So it's available to anyone. Anyone with HubSpot tracking code can use that. All that is reliant on is being able to use the fields such as last page visit, which anyone on any subscription should be able to do. It just gives you that tracking code information.
Nice. Hopefully that helps you out there, Ollie. And then our last question was from Abby around the email health summary tool. Is there a way that we can split these by types of email? For example, if you've got a client newsletter versus a prospect newsletter?
Ooh, that is a very good question. So at this moment in time, I don't believe you can split it down by individual assets. You can only do it by vertical. What you could do possibly to work around that is looking at, it's a bit manual, but you can do an export of email performance data. So for each email, and you can also export list data as well. So you could do a bit of manipulation in a spreadsheet to understand, okay, by format of email, how is that responding as well? Alternatively, if you wanted to go down the route of a subscription type, you could look at that tactic as well in terms of splitting out the assets. Subscription types, I believe, can be reported on as well.
Sounds good. Hopefully that answers your question, Abby. And I think that was it for questions, unless anyone's got any more that they want to pop in the chat before we finish up. Had some really good life hacks. Thank you, everybody.
More than that. Ollie, I don't think I've tried the no need to iron hanging up garments on coat hangers. It doesn't work. I'm sure it doesn't work.
No, that never works for me.
Definitely makes it easier.
Oh, frozen grapes in your wine. I like that one.
Oh, we've got some great stuff coming through. Yeah, the presentation will be shared as well as the recording, Tom, for you. So the recording will be available online where all the slides will be available to see, but we can also download that for you as well if you need that. So just drop us a message on that and we can get that sorted for you. Yeah, that's great. Doesn't look like we've got any more questions that are coming through. Just a few more life hacks, which is great. So we'll take those away, guys. We'll regroup internally, pick our favorite, and we'll get in touch with the winner, and that'll all be announced in the email follow-up as well. Just so you are all aware, we are doing our next HubSpot User Group session, which is going to be just after our trip to Boston. So you'll have to forgive us if we are slightly jet lagged. But it's going to be on the 14th of September, where we're going to be talking you through everything that we found out from Inbound 2022. All three of us that are here today, we're going to be on that session. We're going to be there for the whole week. So if anybody else is there, would like to meet up and go grab a coffee, please just feel free to book into our diaries or connect with us via LinkedIn, and we can find a slot that's available. But hopefully we will be able to tell you everything around Inbound 2022, what we've learned from Barack Obama, and much, much more. But if you do want to reach out, just let us know. We hope you have enjoyed today's session. And as ever, just feel free to reach out to us if you do have any follow-up questions.